React, I would say I have 2+ experience, and prior to that, like I said, I was into Android development.
What do you enjoy most, Android development or web development?
So I wouldn't say like I didn't go full on mobile development and Android development. It was more of an hobby to get myself started. So I see Android development as an hobby, not a like full-time thing for me. But like I considered React development, like web development, as full-time work for me. Whereas Android is just an hobby for me.
Okay, great. We have open positions for React developer,
Hmm.
uh, and we require 2+ years of experience. And I hope you would be the good, suitable candidate. So let's go to the main discussion. So can you please tell about JavaScript? What do you know, and how would you rate yourself in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript?
So, since I'm a web developer, so of course I know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Like they are the foundation languages, I would say, or the foundation technology of web development. So yeah, I'm pretty good at HTML and CSS, and JavaScript. I would rate myself on a scale of 10. I would rate myself somewhere between 8 and 8.5.
And what about HTML and CSS?
I would say HTML 9 and CSS would be 8 I would say.
Okay.
I don't use like pure CSS now because there are like many utility class framework like Tailwind CSS or Bootstrap. So I don't like.
Which one have you used in the projects you worked on?
I have used Tailwind CSS, and also for React I'm using Material UI, which already has components which is like pre-customized. So yeah. I've also worked on Bootstrap, but it's been some time I have worked on Bootstrap.
Okay. What are semantic tags in HTML?
So semantic tags, I would say semantic tags in HTML, like they don't have any effect, like they don't have any visual effect. I would say semantic tags are there just for semantic meaning, like they provide some useful meaning to the content. For example, navigation bar. So nav bar, nav tag is a semantic tag, or footer or header, they are like some semantic tag. So if I put anything inside footer, it won't change the like appearance of it. So the only reason why we call it footer tag, because it gives semantic meaning, and we know that anything that goes inside footer should be displayed at the bottom of the web page. Even though we can have a footer tag at the top of the web page, HTML won't complain, but it is there for semantic meaning. So these are like semantic tags. There's also one benefit, I would say. They are used for like user readability. Like there are many content. They semantic tag. They help for a person is deaf or blind. So in that case, it increases the readability of the web page. So in that case also semantic tags are useful, I would say.
Okay. What is the difference between high, display none and display hidden?
Okay, so display. So these are like CSS property, I would say. CSS thing. In display, none and sorry. What was the second part?
Hidden.
Display hidden. Uh, I think it's visibility hidden, not display hidden.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Visibility hidden.
So yeah. So in case of display hidden. Uh, so in case of display hidden, if I set any HTML properties, CSS value to display property to hidden, sorry, none, so it will be removed from the general flow of the document, and all the other element will treat as if it doesn't exist. it will still be part of the DOM, but it won't be part of general flow of the document. So its space will be occupied by some other content, and it won't be displayed in the web page. And visibility hidden does the same thing, but its space is there. It is not occupied by some other element. So it won't be just displayed on the screen, but it will still be there. The space, whatever space it would have like occupied, if it was not set visible hidden, it will occupy that. So that's the main difference, I would say.
Okay. So do all HTML tags have an end tag, or there are specific tags which have endings?
Yeah, so there are like two types of tag. They're like, one is self-closing and one is closing and opening. So like we have like HTML. So we have like body and we have like head. So they these kind of tag, a title or div. So these are tag. They needs a closing tag also, opening and closing, and all the content goes inside it. And there are some tags which don't require like closing. For example, I would say image tag or break tag. So they're like single. They're like self.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
nice. What is the difference between HTML elements and tags?
So sorry, HTML element and
Tags.
so I would say HTML element and sorry, I'm getting a call. Sorry. So I would say HTML element and so tag are basically anything between I would say angle brackets, and that tag can have like attributes and some more values to it. So that's a tag. But if we take everything, the tag, the attribute, its properties and everything, and the content also, and the closing tag, I think that is HTML element. I'm not sure about it.
Okay. So, you know anything about meta tag and what is its use? And can you please name some of the properties or attributes?
Yeah. So meta tag basically, as the name suggests, they are there for meta information. They are there for information about the web page. So they are usually put in the head tag. So like for example, I have meta name. There's a meta tag called char set. Using this, we can set the character set of a web page. So its value is like UTF-8. So that's, and there's also meta tag called viewport, which is used to set the like zoom value when it's displayed on a mobile screen or something. So it has like a scale, in initial scale, something like that.
If there is okay, I will talk about it later. So, um, what is difference between document dot create element and document dot create fragment?
So this is from React, right?
No, JavaScript.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about. I mean, I've only. I document dot create element basically means I'm creating a new element. So this will like return me a new element. I would say a new HTML element. And fragments, I think it's a part of React. Like they're like empty brackets, and if because I know a component can only return single parent, it cannot like return two different child. So which is why we need to like wrap everything inside a div, so which will like create unnecessary div. So I can wrap everything inside a fragment, I would say. So that's all I know.
Okay. Now let's come to JavaScript. So JavaScript is synchronous or asynchronous?
So JavaScript is a synchronous language, meaning it has uh, JavaScript is a like synchronous language. It has a like single call stack, but it can achieve asynchronous behavior using like event loop and some other things. But it has only one single stack, I would say.
So, how does JavaScript do asynchronous processes? Can you please explain in more detail?
Yes, yes. So
And like, if you know, there is set timeout and set time interval. So, are these JavaScript functions or something else?
okay, so so what happens is whenever a JavaScript program starts executing, there's a like global execution context is created, and this is like environment. So this global execution context, it gets pushed into the call stack, right? So here, everything the function of the call stack is to execute anything that gets pushed into the call stack, I would say. So the first global execution context is created, and if my program is calling some other function, then that function will be called. So again, a local execution context will be created, and it will be pushed on the top of the call stack. So what happens is if JavaScript comes across some asynchronous code, like a code that won't give any output at that instant, because it may return something later or not. It's not fixed. For example, let's say if my code is making some promises, returning me some promise, or we're making some network calls or something, or if there is like you said, like set timeout function. So we know that set timeout function won't get executed after a given time. So my main thread should not be stopped, because if I like wait for that time, my call stack will be like stopped, and my UI will be frozen. So what happens is whenever JavaScript like encounters any set timeout function, so it registers like a timer with the set timeout API. So it's a part of web API, I would say. So JavaScript engine, it registers what I would say, a timer, and as soon as that timer and the normal execution takes on, and as soon as the timers end, the callback function which was supposed to be executed after the given time, it gets pushed to the like callback queue, I would say. And here the callback queue, the event loop, there's a thing called event loop, and it constantly checks if the call stack is empty, and once it sees that okay, call stack is empty, it will take this callback function from the callback queue, and it will push to the main like the call stack, and that function will get executed. So this is how JavaScript achieves the asynchronous behavior, I would say. There's also something called micro task queue, which has all the callback functions from the promises, or something like async await and all those. So the event loop gives priority to the micro task queue, I would say.
Okay, great. What is hosting?
So let me like drink some water. So so in short, I would say hosting means JavaScript engine, even before the execution of the first line, has an basic idea about all the functions and variables which are present in our JavaScript program. So this is called hosting. And so this is like basic, I would say the shortest definition. But if I go in detail, I would say even before the execution of the first line, when a the global execution context is created. So this execution context has two parts. Like the first part is memory, I would say environment variables. It is called like memory space, also environment variable. And the second is execution, like code space where the execution happens. So in this environment variable, all the variables are stored as a property of an object, and by default they are all the values to that property is assigned undefined, and the functions are stored as it is because they are referred in JavaScript. So since JavaScript already has the idea, okay, what kind of functions, sorry, what variables and what functions are present, which means we can call any function or access any variable if on even before their declaration. So JavaScript won't give any error, though will get undefined until that variable is initialized to something, or we can call any function before its definition. Also, it depends on like if that variable is defined using what say let or const or var. So in all of
What
these
is the
cases,
difference between all these three?
sorry.
Difference between let, where, const.
So the major difference would be like I explained of hosting. So where is hosted like I just told you, but let and const they're also hosted, but they are not accessible until they are initialized some value. So they remain in separate space, like it's called temporal dead zone, and we cannot access them. We will get like what's a reference error if we try to access them, and
Const
and
variables are also hosted,
I would say they are hosted but they're not accessible, so there's no
but we
point.
can't redeclare or we can't define the value
No,
for the
yeah,
const.
we cannot like const are only like declared once. I mean initialize declared and initialized once, and but we can only declare once, but they can initialize any number of time, and where can be redeclare initialize again and again. And also the main difference is of like scoping. There's like where has only two kind of scope, functional scope or global scope, whereas let and const they also have like something called block scope. So anything between curly braces is a block, so they are like limited to that block. So that's the main difference, and this is why they were introduced in ES6 to overcome this problem, I would say.
Okay. So what is this keyword in JavaScript?
So uh, So this keyword is basically is a reference to the object, I would say, which is like calling any function. Uh, that would be like the general definition. Like by default, if we access this, it will point to the global execution context. Also, in cases of like browser, this will give me the window object which has everything. So normally this will point to window, but if I'm in some other object, so then I will get that object. So the object which is calling any function, something like that. So that will be this. We can also change the this to point to something else. If we can use something called bind to bind it with some other object, I would say.
Apart from bind, there are two more
Yeah.
objects
So
which can.
so so there's I think there's a so there's bind and there's apply, I would say, and there's one more. I'm not. So there's call, bind, and apply. Yes.
What is the difference between all three?
Uh, I don't actually remember. So call will bind any object to a function, but it will call that function in the real time at that time only. But bind will just bind, but it won't call it. And I'm not sure about like the last
Okay,
one.
okay. If you are not sure, no problem.
Okay.
So What are regular and what is difference between regular function and arrow function?
So the main difference would be again of this keyword this. Also, there is syntactical difference, like A regular function. Actually, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, but you're right about this
Yeah,
keyword
this.
and there's
I think the arrow function don't have their own this keyword. I would say.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
and in general they have their own keywords. Yeah.
Okay, what what are deep copy and shallow copy?
So deep copy. Can I show on the using code? That would be like
Yeah,
good.
sure, no
Yeah.
problem.
So oh sorry, I have already opened. Let me share my screen. Your entire screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Let me create a new file here and just save it. I'll say test.js. Okay, so I have is my do I need the font to be bigger or is it good?
No, no, it's fine.
Okay, okay. So the thing is, so basically, in the case of if I have let's say I have like const a is equal to 10, right? And if I say const, if I say let b is
Equals
equal
is
to
missing in the first
okay,
line.
sorry. So if I say b is equal to b is equal to a here. So here, if I do console.log, sorry, console.log a, and I'm going to replicate it. Let me if I say sorry, if I say b, no, I will say console.log b here, and here if I change the value of a is equal to let's say 100. Why do I and here I'm gonna do it let because I'm changing the value. So let me run this. Okay. So here, as you can see here, I have said the value of a is equal to 10, right? And I'm saying b is equal to a. So basically, b is also equal to 10. So here I'm getting 10, but even if I'm changing the value of a, the value of b remains the same, which means here a new copy is a new copy is created. So this will be deep copy, I would say. Like in cases of primitive, the values are like whole values stored in a memory, they are not referred. But if I have like object here, like if I let's say I have this object here, and if I say name is equal to sorry name is equal to Ravi, right? And if I say let b is equal to a, and here if I change a dot name is equal to let's say I say Amit, right? And if I again console log, so I will get the different value even though I'm changing in the a, the value of b will be changed. So what's actually happening here? Let me see. See the first it says Ravi and the second it says Amit even though I'm not changing the value of b. So here shallow copy is taking place because objects they are like referred. So the both a and b are referring to the same memory location, so which is why. So this is like I think this is shallow copy. Yes.
All right. So, like, I add a script tag in HTML and I pass arguments async and or defer. So, what is difference between async and defer?
Async and defer. So I think async. I'm not sure. Like I forgot. I think it has to do with how my script will be loaded. Like if I do async, so my HTML component will be loaded, and then my and the side by side my script will also be loaded. And once my script is loaded, the HTML execution will be stopped, and my script will get executed. And I'm not sure about the other one actually.
All right. So now, what are lexical scope and what is scope chain?
So, lexical scope, I'm not sure, and and what do I like?
Scope chain.
Scope chain is I would say basically. Uh, Actually, I've also joined using my phone because my laptop's webcam is not working. So,
Okay, okay, no problem. What
so
are closures?
do you still want me to like answer? I know lexical, not like scope chaining. So, can I like answer that?
No, no, leave it. You can tell about closures. And have you implemented or used closures ever in your life?
Closers. Yes, I mean closers are closers is basically when a function is executed and that function is returning some another function from that function, and that function the return function is using some variable. So that variable is that the function is called that it is enclosing that variable, so a closure is formed because usually when a function gets executed, so a local execution context is created and everything and that function uh, so all the variables that function has they are hosted there, and once that function execution is completed, everything is deleted because that function gets popped out of the call stack. But since here we are returning a function and that function has something a variable, so that variable won't get destroyed, it will be preserved. I can show you using example clearly. Let me share my screen, so maybe then I can show you clearly. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
So I'm gonna create a function. I'll say parent, or you know what, I'm gonna say outer. So I have this function, and here I can do I'll have another function. I'll call it inner, right? And let's say I have let a is equal to 10, 10, and here I'm let's say I'm saying console.log 10, sorry, a, and here I'm returning this function. Let's say I'm returning this inner function, right? So here I'm returning, so when I call this function outer, uh, if I do this, right? So here what I'm saying, I'm calling the